words are about to be spoken on the Extreme Life of Matt Hardy, brought to you by the Ad Free Shows, Podcast Seat, and Wrestling According to Alba Networks. I'm John Alba. That's the broken one. That's the broken one. That's the spoken one himself, Mr. Matt Hardy. Going through the motions. What's going on, my man? How are you?
I'm doing well, man. Just very happy to be out here in the country. Beautiful countryside, beautiful forest of Cameron, North Carolina, the Hardy compound. The last couple weeks have been crazy. The last couple weeks have been loco. They've been so hectic, and it's nice to be home for a few days back to back. So I'm home for 5 days. So it's been the longest I've been home in 2 or 3 weeks. So it's nice.
Yeah, it's been a couple weeks since we've had a chance to really chat at large. I was in Dublin, so we pre-recorded last week's episode. Are the Hardys down with Dublin?
Yeah, no, I've always loved Ireland. You know, there's a lot of Irish in us. You know, Jeff and I are quite Irish.
You are very white. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, no doubt. So we are. How was your food over there? Did you enjoy the food?
Dude, gotta say, I did not have high expectations going in. I was pleasantly very surprised by the quality of food in Dublin. Like you always hear with Ireland, because this is my first time, you always hear like meat and potatoes. Well, okay, meat and potatoes, that's a pretty bland presentation dish, whatever you want.
You've never been to Ireland before?
I've never been to Ireland, no.
Okay.
So this is my first time. And I gotta tell you, man, I was blown away by the quality of the food there. The Asian food in Dublin was amazing. We had some good Italian food there. I had a steak there that was pretty good. I was really, really impressed by the food in Dublin. I did not expect it.
Look at that. What a pleasant surprise.
And I got to tell you, the hospitality, they are so hospitable there. They're so welcoming. They're so inclusive. And of course, anywhere you go, they're like, "Oh, you want some wine? You want a Guinness? You want a beer?"
The Guinness for days there. Guinness is really is such a massive thing in Ireland. It really is. They take a lot of pride in that.
Guinness, and then we actually did the Jameson factory tour, which was really cool because I love me some Jameson. Yep. If there's any wives of wrestling fans out there, you remember I used to do our opening toast every week with Jameson straight from the bottle, and I learned how it was bottled. So that was a cool experience. But yeah, man, I love Dublin, and there were a lot of wrestling fans there. I went to a wrestling store, and they had a pretty unique Matt Hardy action figure. So they're done. You got any Ireland memories from being out there?
I mean, just one of the things I remember that I enjoyed, and it's probably because my family was with me. I did a tour over there with Kenny McIntyre, and
Kenny's great.
With whenever we did the deal with Kenny, the ITR,
Inside we did the ropes,
the speaking show, and I remember we were there and we had some time off, and we went to a castle and we hung out at the castle, and there was a thing where you get down and like see the Rock. I wanted Blimey. It was maybe Blimey. I'm not sure, but I just remember it was myself and Rebecca and Maxwell, and we had a great time. And we had a great time there traveling with Kenny as well. Good stuff.
Yeah, Kenny's a good dude. I like Kenny a lot. Shout out to him. Fun stuff, man. I really had a good time, and it was an Irish wedding. Mm-hmm. And you know, I was the king of weddings for a hot second in 2022, 2023, but I'd never been to an Irish wedding. And it was quite the experience. Very different than an American wedding. Even just in how it's structured, where you do all the eating, all the food, everything, the speeches in the first few hours. And then it's just a full dance party from that point. And then there's after parties. It was a good time. Really enjoyed it. But you know what I'm really excited for, Matt? I'm excited for a party that's going down here in New York City. That's the Hardy Party. We announced it last week as the show dropped. This is going down November 22nd. Doors are going to open at 11 a.m. in New York City, Times Square at Connolly's on 45th. Important to note, they have a sister restaurant, Connolly's on 47th. This is the Connolly's on 45th, right near Times Square. It is going to be a Matt Hardy podcast. There's going to be a Jeff Hardy concert. This, my friend, is going to be the biggest Hardy party of the year. I think it might even be bigger than the Kowloon one. This is going to be an all-timer. I can't wait for it.
It's going to be great, man. It's going to be very exciting to be in Times Square. First time we're bringing a Hardy party at Times Square. and it really is probably going to be the biggest Hardy party of all time. And considering it's in Times Square, this event's going to sell out, so get your tickets as early as possible.
I was inspired by when we brought the Hardys out into Times Square when you guys were promoting TNA, and I just saw how many people were coming up to you. And I said, you know what? We got to do this the right way. We got to do this properly. We got to give people a heads up that the Hardys are going to be there, because those New York City creatures, well, they fit right into the broken universe, don't they?
They really do, man. They fit perfectly into the broken universe, and everyone who shows up at the Hardy party on November the 22nd, they're going to fit perfectly into the broken universe too, and it's going to be the best time ever. Best time ever.
I want to make clear, this is the afternoon of AEW Full Gear. We are not counter programming AEW Full Gear in Newark. This is going to be on the afternoon of, and it will be
imagine
over.
that we're counter programming AEW that evening.
A lot of people are doing that.
What a wild statement.
A lot of people are doing that these days, but we are not going to be doing that. In fact, the show will be over with plenty of time for you to get across the river, get into Newark, New Jersey, and go check out AEW Full Gear. Very, very excited for this Hardy party. Tickets can be purchased at hardyboyslive.com, HARDYBOYZ live.com. Limited VIP meet, greet, and delete tickets up on sale. General admission also available. And what I love about this Hardy party, Matt, this is how you know it's not the house show version. Full food and drinks menu, so you can come for lunch. You can come check out some of that Irish food. Maybe get yourself some fish and chips, even though it's not Irish, but they got them there at the pub. I love some good pub food, some good pub fries, and you can enjoy the show. It's going to be awesome. I cannot wait for this. And if you're watching on the Matt Hardy brand YouTube, you've got a QR code right there. You can just scan it on your phone. It's going to take you right to the ticket link. This is a non-refundable show, but we cannot wait to see you there. Anything else you want to add on this, Matt?
No, man, it's going to be great. I mean, Jeff's very excited. Jeff's very, very excited for it. He's excited to be performing in Times Square. He puts so much passion into his music and into his lyrics and into his stories and his transitions between songs. He's super hyped for it, super excited about it, and it's going to be a great time, man. New York is the greatest city in the world, the Big Apple, and the Hardys are coming to take it over.
Maybe we got to invite King Kong after you had that showdown with him.
I don't know, man. King Kong's got a little heat with me. I don't know if he would come.
King Kong was no-selling you.
Yeah, a little bit of heat, man. He tried to turn his back to me, so I turned my back to him, but I knew better. I turned back around quickly, rapidly. I was ready in case he was going to attack. I know all of King Kong's history. I've watched his movies.
You've watched the films, so you know. You're familiar. Gotcha. Hey, that's great stuff, man. I cannot wait for that. Speaking of movies, by the way, have you seen the trailers for The Smashing Machine with Dwayne playing Mark Kerr, the UFC fighter?
I have not. I have seen his drastic transformation into.
You've seen what he looks like.
The character, yes.
Yeah. I'll tell you, he got a 15-minute standing ovation at the premiere. There's some legit Oscar buzz for him. He kind of has that stereotype of he plays the same character in every movie. This is clearly a step outside the comfort zone for him. I mean, just even looking at the images, what do you think of something like that?
I mean, I'm intrigued by it. Yeah, I think it definitely shows great depth on his end, right? For him to kind of step outside his comfort zone, because I do know there are a lot of people think so, like, well, he's kind of the Rock basically in all movies that he's in, maybe a different version of it. But I mean, this one, he goes under such a drastic appearance change, from all the makeup and everything they do to make him look like Kerr. It is cool, man, and I'm really excited to see his acting in it, how much it varies from his previous films.
What do you think it would mean to him, knowing Dwayne in the way you do, for him to actually get an Oscar nomination for something like this?
I mean, that's huge. That's becoming the world champion and the face of the company, where you're the flagship of the company. It shows that your hard work and your work ethic and your desire to be the best possible, it shows that it's being rewarded. So that would probably mean the world to him.
I know that he hears some of that criticism about his previous roles. So I'm looking forward to seeing how he tackles this. He's going to have some stiff competition. Rumor and innuendo says that Jeremy Allen White playing Bruce Springsteen might garner some Oscar nomination too. So I'm going to be first in line for Deliver Me From Nowhere. You can bet your ass on that. Let's keep talking here, Matt, because we have a very interesting topic at hand this week. We're going to talk a little bit about TKO and WWE, but I want to talk about what else is going on in the wrestling sphere. This match with the Dudleys, man, this thing's a go. We're about a month away from it. This thing's really happening.
It is official, and it was surreal, man. I'm not gonna lie, to be back in a ring with both Bubba and Devon simultaneously, with myself and Jeff in there, and it was so wild. They came out, they got a great reaction. Myself and Jeff came out. We got the reaction we typically get, and we got into the ring. And as soon as we stepped into the ring, and all four guys were, our backs are to the ropes. We have quite the distance between us. There's no face off. It was not a confrontation. But then the crowd immediately started chanting, "This is awesome. This is awesome." And they chanted for probably 2 minutes, so that all that'll be trimmed down on TV, I'm sure. But it was amazing how into our segment the crowd was.
How does that make you feel going into the match?
It makes me feel very confident about the interest in this match. And it makes me very motivated to make this match as great as it can possibly be. And I feel like myself and Jeff, considering how currently how good we are now, and considering we're 33 years deep and our bodies have been through what they've been through, we are very, very good at this stage of the game. I feel like it motivates us to carry this match as much as we can and make this match as good as it can possibly be. And I know that both the Dudleys are willing to step up, and they're going to give it everything they have. So I definitely feel like this match is going to exceed expectations. And I think when it's all said and done, this is going to be an amazing story. And I'm promoting the match like this. I think when it's all said and done, I think this is going to be one of the most emotional matches in the history of TNA.
Have you ever had an emotional match?
We have had I've had emotional matches, no doubt. A lot of this stuff in 2005, when I was in there with Edge, that stuff was very emotional, and people were emotionally invested into it, and they were really set in their ways. But I mean, I think you're going to have wrestling fans that have celebrated the rivalry we've had now. The first time we wrestled, it was 26 years ago.
Sure.
So they have celebrated the rivalry that we've had for, this, a quarter of a century, over a quarter of a century. And they know when we advertise this as the final match, it is going to be the final match. And it is going to be special. Like, we're going in there to go all out, and we're going to give the people everything we have in our bodies. And we're going to make this a special match to remember. And they know this is going to be the last time they see the Hardys and Dudleys together. So it's going to be emotional, no doubt.
Well, that's what I was going to say. It's a little different in terms of emotion from, say, the Edge match in 05. Because
100%.
You've never had a match like this where you're facing down finality, right? Going in, this is going to be the last time you're going to lock up with the both of them.
Yes. And we know that this is, we want this match to be in many ways, we want it to be a celebration of the entertainment and the moments and the nostalgia we have given fans over the last 26 years. I mean, that's what's so important. And it's a crazy scenario in so many ways, because the year is 2025, right? And it's been 25 years since we had our iconic tables match at 2000 at Madison Square Garden. And if the Dudleys do defeat us, they would, in theory, become the 25-time World Tag Team Champions, because I have put the TNA World titles, myself and Jeff put the TNA World titles up to bring them into this match. But we have made it very clear, and we've said if we beat them in this match, we want them to stand across the ring from us, walk up to us, look us in the eye, shake our hands, and say, "Hardys, you have beaten us, and you are the greatest tag team of all time." And we've promised them, if they do that to us, if they beat us, we will do the same thing. We will walk up to them man to man, shake their hand, look them in the eyes, and say, "You are the greatest tag team of all time." So we're both putting our legacy, our legacies on the line in many, many ways in this match.
The reputation. Does that matter to you?
It's something Jeff and I've taken I think we've taken it very serious during this run. I mean, when we came back to TNA, all we wanted to do was be featured. We wanted to be given opportunities. We wanted to be given opportunities to be featured in the way we should be featured at this stage of the game. And TNA has done that. And we've been going out there, and I think you talk to people who have watched our match with the Rascals, at Emergence, and they're like, holy shit, the Hardys are killing it. This was unbelievable. You look at the people that watched the match between, myself and Jeff versus Leon and Cedric Alexander. They're like, oh my God, how are the Hardys doing this at this stage of the game? I mean, we're on a pretty special level considering everything we've put our bodies through, and all the bumps that have been punched out on our bump cards, no doubt. So we want to prove that we can do it with the Dudleys, someone else who is at the very end of the road, in many, many ways. And we want to go out there and we want to show the teams, all the tag teams in all of pro wrestling right now, why we have been working at such a high level for so long. And our longevity is one that is unmatched. That I think that's what we're looking for more than anything else. Just having longevity that is unmatched. Because too, when you look back, like even I'm so happy Adam and Jay are back together, and I would really love to do something with those guys down the road. They both had many years off because of injuries, where it seemed like their careers were unfortunately over because of injuries that were out of their control, and they didn't get a say in the matter. And it's so great that they got to come back and they got to do that. But Jeff and I, we have never had that substantial amount of time off. Like, we have been grinding the whole while since we started on TV in 1998 full time, so that if you do the math, that's 27 years. 2026 is going to be going into 28, and we've been grinding that whole while. And you're going to be hard pressed to find another tag team that has been pretty much full time for 27 years, busting their ass and still competing at the level that myself and Jeff are.
I think you could even argue that you guys have just had your working boots on longer than pretty much any other tag team has ever.
No doubt. No doubt.
That's also because you're aided by some of the best work boots out there, Matt Hardy. And that's because of our friends over at Brunt. I know you and brother Nero are out there on the Hardy compound, not afraid to dig into the swamps. Jeff loves his landscaping. You have to make sure that House Hardy's looking good. But that doesn't mean when you choose work boots, you got to sacrifice comfort and durability. Because Brunt thought that whole idea was totally BS. Founder Eric Gerard grew up blue collar, and he started Brunt Workwear after his friends in the trades kept telling him that the big brands had stopped listening and they hadn't changed in 100 years. They had sold out to become fashion brands. So his buddies encouraged him to start a brand built for them. And that's why all Brunt products are named after the guys that he grew up with, real hard-working tradesmen. These are no doubt the most comfortable work boots that I've ever worn. I know they're the most comfortable work boots that you've ever worn.
No doubt.
When you took them out of the box, man, you didn't even have to break them in, did you?
No, man. I just threw them on and I went. Started walking through the forest. Met Jeff halfway, gave him his. I love it, man. They're my kind of boots, man. I love spending time in the wilderness. I love spending time in the woods. I love taking my kids in the woods. I want them to be very comfortable in the woods. And I'm gonna get some Brunt boots for all of them as well.
I was gonna say, you can chase little gothic baby around in them without sacrificing durability and staying comfortable. Because I know she's a wild child out there.
She is a wild child. She's a wild child wherever she goes. She is she's cute as she can possibly be, and she knows it, which is trouble.
And you even know too, when you're out there biking with Maxwell, I know that's something you guys like to do to bond together. You can hop on your bike with your Brunt work boots and you're able to pedal along nice and easy. And we want to help you guys out. Okay. For a limited time, our listeners get $10 off Brunt when you use code Hardy at checkout. Just head to bruntworkwear.com, use the code Hardy, and you are good to go. Because Brunt was tired of the workwear brands out there cutting corners. You simply work too hard to be stuck in uncomfortable boots that don't hold up, so they built something better. Boots that are insanely comfortable. They're built for any job site. And again, for a limited time only, our listeners get $10 off at Brunt when you use code Hardy, Hardy, at checkout. Just head to bruntworkwear.com, code Hardy, and you're good to go. And after you order, they'll ask you where you heard about Brunt. So do us a favor and tell them that the extreme life of Matt Hardy sent you over there. Speaking of AEW, you talked about Adam and Jay. Their match with FTR is official. since we last recorded. What do you make of that? That feels like that's a match a long time coming.
Yes, it certainly is. Following the whole breakdown between Copeland and FTR, I'm excited for that. I'm really excited to watch the dynamic between Adam and Jay, between Christian and Adam Copeland. It's going to be exciting, and it's going to be fun too. And it's obviously something I have my eyes on very closely because those guys are forever connected to myself and Jeff. So I'm excited for it. And FTR, they're fantastic. So that it's obviously going to be a killer match. They're going to go out and do some good stuff. And those guys once again, Christian and Edge, they are working on a very high level, especially being a little older. They both take care of themselves. They're both in great shape, and they're going to go out there and kill it.
I'm excited for the match. It's going to be one of the premier matches on All Out. You know, right now, Matt, a lot of AEW's talent is on the shelf. A lot of them. Will Ospreay, Kenny Omega, Swerve. So a guy like Kyle Fletcher is getting a chance to face Hangman at that pay-per-view at All Out. And you got to work on trying to elevate guys into that top position.
Sure. I mean, that's what happens whenever the injury bug bites, and you have a lot of guys that are down and out. You have to work to elevate guys, move guys back up in that spot. You know, especially when you have a bunch of guys that are holding those top spots and they've kind of been established as your top tier guys. It's always important to be able to move people up. One thing I look back at ECW about, which Paul Heyman was so good at, he would build guys into top guys, top performers, featured acts. No matter who it was. I mean, if it was Benoit, Eddie Guerrero, Dean Malenko, whoever else, they would get signed by WCW, or you would have guys that would get signed to WWF. They would leave. He would always slide more guys in there, and he would really work hard to push them and highlight their strengths and do everything that he could to make them into a top tier guy that would sell tickets and that would be a main event draw that people would pay to see. And he was so good at that. And that's something I feel is very, very important in this day and age.
Any thoughts on your boy Wardlow getting hurt? Sounds like he tore his pec.
I just feel terrible for him, man. I mean, honestly, looking at Wardlow being an AEW original, I feel like there were a couple opportunities to really, put the rocket on him and ascend him to the very top of the card and make him into a big star, into a big ticket selling draw at AEW, and it hasn't happened yet. And he has all the potential. He has the look. He has the talent. He has one of the best attitudes you'll ever find in pro wrestling. So it's a shame that he did get hurt. And all I can say is I hope for a speedy recovery. Hope he gets back soon, and hope he can get to where he wants to get.
So much changing right now. I mean, man, just as we got set to record, the news broke that Paramount is going to try to buy Warner Brothers and Discovery. This world is rapidly changing around us. AEW is going to be affected in some way with some of this stuff. So
let me ask you, John, what is your theory? If that did happen, what would happen with AEW? Where would they land?
These things take time to go down, and
definitely long-term deals.
Yeah, and now with a lot of the, I mean, look, I'm just going to call it for what it is. Like, this is all happening because of the Trump settlement with CBS and Paramount, and then that cleared the way for the merger for Paramount. Now they're trying to swallow up Warner Brothers Discovery, and I think if this were to happen a year or 2 years ago, it wouldn't get approved. It would be held up in the courts, but I suspect that this now will probably be allowed to happen, and you're going to have some major media consolidation. And there's going to be a lot of entities that get put out of business as a result of this. I suspect CNN will become part of the Paramount family, and they'll radically change that network around. Then, we suspect, we don't know, but we suspect that WBD has a minority stake in AEW. Not that I expect that to really matter all that much, but the reality is, AEW has the television contract for another couple of years with Warner Brothers Discovery. With them branching off, there were already some questions, and now if something like this happens, it does beg to question what the long-term viability with that partner is. Will there even be any people left from that regime that AEW had been partners with for them to re-engage with? So The crazy part is, Matt, even though we spent so much time talking about the AWTV deal and media rights deal, we spent like a year plus talking about that. We're going to have that conversation regardless of whether this happens or not very soon, because if AEW's media rights deal runs for another 2 years, that means within the next 6 months or so, you got to start that negotiation. You got to start looking ahead
Sure.
at what's going to happen after that. So I do suspect that AEW is going to probably negotiate with other partners this time around and be a little more proactive in that. There will absolutely be other partners interested. I don't know how much money they're going to have waved in front of them. There was a nice bar set with this current AEW media rights deal, but we'll find out. And that's why that report about the TNA stuff from a few weeks ago might have some bearing too about what they end up getting if something comes together for TNA down the line, because there could be some indicators drawn from that. It's a very interesting, rapidly changing cycle.
It's definitely a rapidly evolving media setup currently. It's wild. It's hard to keep track of.
Well, and for the last 5 years, right, we've seen all these streaming entities pop up, a la carte, a la carte. Then you're paying $200 for 3 different services versus an entire cable bill, right? So now we're going to start seeing the great rebundling, which is what they're calling it, where
right.
all of these entities are going to be like, hey, let's come together to offer a package, which I don't know about you, but to me, that sounds a lot like cable in the first place. So we're back to where we started, and we're going to be back to where we started in a totally different way. It's absolutely unpredictable, man. It's hard
Time
to
is
say.
a flat circle, John.
It's hard
Everything
to say.
that happens again.
Yeah, and it's hard to say truly where the cards may fall for any of these entities. We really don't know.
I got to tell you, when I hear about Paramount, though, it makes me just think of the Dexter Resurrection series, which I
know you were very happy about that.
I absolutely loved. They hit a home run at the very end. I actually put a tweet up about how happy I was with the series, and half-ass went viral. But it's really cool, and it came out Friday night, Paramount Plus, I think, if that's what it is. It was like their special tier, which I don't have. I waited until it came out on Showtime and watched it on Sundays. But dude, they nailed it. They stuck the landing. So Paramount's over for me just for that fact.
So it's a prequel series, right?
No, Dexter Resurrection.
It's a sequel. Oh, it's the sequel to the other reboot of it from a few years ago.
Here's what happened. So
this is the third one, right?
The original series, Dexter, had 8 seasons. And
it had a weird ending, right? People weren't happy with the ending.
People weren't thrilled about the ending.
Right,
they were left unsatisfied. And then they brought back Dexter New Blood, where I think their purpose was to try and stick the landing and go out on a good note.
Right.
And it was great for like the first episodes, but then the last episode, like they tried to mesh in a whole bunch of stories super quick, and they complicated the relationship between Dexter and his son, which is something people were very invested in. So then that was left very unsatisfying to people. People left disappointed with the finale of that. So they did a prequel, which you're talking about, which is Original Sin. And that ended up being great. They did 1 season of that. And then Dexter Resurrection picked up where New Blood ended, and it still honors the history of the original Dexter series and Dexter New Blood. But they hit not only a home run, they hit a grand slam with Dexter Resurrection.
Okay.
It was off the charts, and it gave the feeling of peak Dexter, like seasons 2.
Restore the feeling.
4. Yeah. Right. What AEW was claiming, they absolutely did it. They did restore the feeling of Dexter.
They restore the feeling. Okay, I saw someone in front of me on the plane watching some form of Dexter. I don't know what it was, but I could see out of the corner of my eye there was like a volleyball game going on, and I was like, okay, this is Dexter. I know it is, but I wasn't sure entirely. Okay.
Well,
so
you know, Dexter Resurrection was also set in New York City, which was very cool.
Is he coming to the Hardy Party?
Hopefully.
Do we want him? I don't know. Like the actor, sure. I don't know if we want Dexter himself at the Hardy Party.
Michael C. Hall. The thing that was also cool about it is it felt very fresh. You know what I mean? It was a new setting. It was very fresh. And the relationship with him and his son was done so well. So well. And Peter Dinklage, which I'm a big fan of from Game of Thrones. Great. He was the big bad in it, and he was so good. His role was so layered and complicated, and it was just If you loved Dexter seasons 1 through 4 back in the day, go out of your way to watch Dexter Resurrection. You'll love it.
Okay. All right, man. Well, I don't want to waste any more time because we got a good WWE convo to get into. So without further ado, please hit us with your Matt Fact.
Matt Fact, Matt's go-to snack is sea salt and vinegar pistachios.
Interesting. When did that happen? Because this is the first time ever hearing of this.
Well, so I'm on a very strict diet now. Between now and Bound for Glory, I'm going to diet very hard and try and get into my best shape possible. I want to go into 51 looking like $1 million. So whenever I do my fast in the evening, not as disciplined as Jeff yet. I'm not as disciplined as Jeff yet. Jeff cuts off at 6 p.m., 5:30, 5 p.m. He's earlier. You know, I'll try and cut off by 7 o'clock, 7:30. Whenever I break that fast, I try and do it around lunchtime the next day, whenever I do it. But if I, for instance, the reason I actually threw this Matt Fact in right now, so we're getting ready to record, and initially we were going to do it at 1:30, ended up being a little bit later because of technical difficulties. But I was so hungry and starving, so I reached into my sea salt and vinegar pistachios, grabbed a handful, and threw them in my mouth and just shoot them down just to tide me over. But that is my little, just a small handful of those pistachios is like to get me into my actual next healthy meal. And
I will
I
say,
I take them with me on the road now, and if I don't have time to eat, that'll be my little snack.
I will say one of my favorite parts about going overseas was trying the different snacks over there that you can't get here in the U.S. And
yeah, that's always interesting.
There's such a rapid taste change for some of these things that you do have over here. There's just so much less sugar in the items over there versus
oh my God.
here.
I mean, that's something that, you know, is just their snacks and a lot of their stuff are healthier than our stuff is in general.
But I'll say their chocolate and their candy is so much better there too. You throw some Cadbury in front of me, ooh, it is hard.
Not the old sugar tooth. The sugar tooth comes out,
bro. We're getting back on the diet this week. We cheated last week. It was vacation, so we got.
It's vacation, so you're allowed to have the sweet tooth.
We got to get back on it. You know, I gotta make sure that my diet is awoken, if you will, and I can make sure that my dick is too with Blue Chew, because Blue Chew is going to make sure that you go from broken to woken wherever you go. Enter that room.
Woken.
These are your woken warriors out here. Using
no doubt.
Blue Chew. Blue Chew isn't just a tablet, it's a cheat code for your crotch. Stronger, harder, longer lasting, like someone gave your downstairs. A little pep talk, maybe a gym membership to go along with it. You know, man. I guess I can reveal this proudly. Blue Chew works internationally. If you're picking up what I'm putting down.
I am picking up what you're putting down.
It works without borders. You don't need any tariffs. You don't need any trade agreements. Blue Chew works wherever you go. That's why we want to help you. Have you found that to be the case too, by the way?
Yes, it's a global phenomenon, no doubt.
It's not just about performance. It's about legacy, your third legacy. Give her group chat something to talk about. You know, when you lay it down, they're always talking about how it gets up. Nothing makes you more of a legend than a little Blue Chew. Discover your options at BlueChew.com. We got a special deal for our listeners. As always, get your first month of Blue Chew free. Just use promo code Hardy at checkout. Pay $5 for shipping. That's it. Join Blue Chew's mission to upgrade humanity one thrust at a time. Head to BlueChew.com for details and safety information. And a big thanks to Blue Chew for sponsoring the extreme life of Matt Hardy. Okay. Big stuff to talk about here, WWE-wise, about TKO and WWE. And I guess we can backtrack a little bit because it starts with a story that came out last week, in my opinion, which is that John Cena's last match is not going to be in Boston, as had been alluded to for so long. WrestleVote's first report, which I've since confirmed the working plan, is that they're going to hold John Cena's last match in Washington, D.C. And that they put, I know this for a fact, they put Cena's last match, the Saturday night's main event in December, up for bidding. And Boston went super hard for this, Matt. But they did not match a lot of the qualifiers that WWE wanted. They wanted them to cover more payments and more costs than they ever have for an event before to host this. And it didn't end up working out. And a lot of people were upset about this because a lot of people wanted to see John Cena have his last match in Boston. When we were in Kowloon, that was a big talking point. A lot of people were talking about that. That's not going to happen. And immediately fans started coming after TKO. This isn't a move that Vince would have done if he was running the company. He would have given him the happy ending where he wanted it, blah, blah, blah. Right?
Oh my God, look at that. You're on Vince's side.
Oh, I'm not taking sides on this. I'm just this is what the net says, according to the net, right? But says the net. But then talking about Vince, Mark Shapiro, one of the top dogs in TKO, was on the Goldman Sachs tech conference on Wednesday. And he was asked about ticket prices for UFC and WWE. And basically he said that WWE, in his assessment, had not reached its full potential in terms of ticket price. I was saying, quote, WWE is not where the UFC yet is on ticket yield. We have our work to do there. And then he would go on to say that their current approach is a departure from what Vince McMahon's approach was. Quote, we know we have a lot of room there because Vince McMahon was primarily pricing tickets for families and wasn't totally focused on maximizing the opportunity there. Now that we've seen what we can do with UFC, we're replicating that in terms of ticket yield and holding back and advanced sales when it comes to on location on the WWE side. And it's working out pretty well. And then for those who don't know what ticket yield is, it's a term that is used in that industry that refers to maximizing revenue by selling all the available inventory with a strategic mix of prices. And so I'm sure you've seen it, that on location package that WWE is promoting, where you get to go down near ringside and sometimes you go to backstage areas and you get a front row seat. That's like a $40,000 package. Tickets for the upper deck for WWE WrestlePalooza on September 20th are $240, $250 at this moment in time. This, Matt, is very different than the WWE that you came up wrestling in. Sure. And it's very different than what wrestling has historically been. So the question that I ask as we discuss this today, is pro wrestling, and WWE specifically, outpricing the fan in 2025? What are your thoughts?
Well, I got. Let me ask you, John. Do you have any of the numbers? Are they still selling out almost every event currently?
So far, we're seeing them pack attendance and pack houses. But the narrative was always, Matt, that like eventually the bubble's going to burst, right?
Sure,
that's what they say. And I think there's another layer to this, but we'll get into that. So go ahead. What's your thoughts initially?
No, I mean, I remember very vividly, whenever we were doing, once again, as I said earlier during the pod, we started full-time on the road in 1998. And I remember everything was sold out from 1998 all the way to 2001, later 2001. And I remember I remember very, very vividly, Vancouver, the first event was like really not sold out. And it was like 2/3 full, the house. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, is it over? Is it over? Because they were white hot at that time, right? And they were selling out everywhere. And WWE, for what it's worth, they're hot right now too. They're white hot, and they are selling out events. And as of right now, these current prices that they're trying to maximize and optimize the money that they're going to make in ticket sales and everything else when they come to the town. They put bids out to bring a WWE event to your territory. Right now, they seem to be sustainable. And as you said, the question is, how long is that going to last? Does that change? And then they have to alter things. They have to change things. I mean, I feel like as long as they're able to sell these events out and they're able to optimize and maximize the amount of profit they make every time they go to the town, they're going to continue to do it.
So here's the underlying argument that I think is very interesting to dive into. And you've seen this firsthand from how you perform, and you perform on the indies still, you perform at TNA, and the TKO methodology here is trying to get the WWE price point to the same standard as UFC. Correct? Do we agree on that that's what they're trying to do here?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
I do.
So I don't believe that UFC and WWE share the same exact fan demographics. And that, to me, is where there might be a disparity in the attempt to do this. I don't believe UFC is largely a family-friendly sport. It's not a sport that you take the whole family out to, your 10-year-old daughter, to go see UFC 327 or whatever, and see these fighters legitimately knock the shit out of each other.
Sure.
Whereas
I can concur with you on this too.
Whereas with pro wrestling, it's marketed in a much more family-friendly way. So I don't believe that these families, the target audience for a lot of wrestling, are necessarily going to be willing to shell out the same cash point that some others would for these UFC events. That's my take on it. What say you?
I mean, right now they are. So as long as they are not having issues and they're selling out, I mean, as long as it is sustainable and they are filling up venues and people are, you know, either selling out the buildings or coming very close, I don't see why they would change, because their goal, as they have admitted, as you said before, he said very specifically, he didn't think Vince McMahon optimized the amount of money he can make, the profit he could take in. And that is their goal. That is what they want to do. So
is that a fair assessment?
I mean, that was their quote too, right?
Right, but I'm saying is you've worked with Vince for decades. Is that a fair
yeah,
assessment?
I mean, I feel like Vince wanted to make as much money as he could possibly make, but I don't feel like he wasn't as layered as these people. You know what I mean? I don't. Every event, when they bring a WWE event anywhere, you know, as you said, they wanted to do Cena's last event in Boston. You know, initially that was the mindset, and obviously the people who are there and the biggest John Cena fans, and I'm sure John himself, he would love to go out on that final note. You know, I would love to go out in Raleigh or Fayetteville or Charlotte or whatever, and I'm sure John would have loved to have done that as well. And it didn't work out, but at the end of the day, it ends up being because Washington was paying them more money, apparently. Do you know what venue they're doing that at in Washington, John?
My understanding, it's going to be, what is it called now? The Capital One Arena, or the main
Okay.
arena in DC, where the
Yeah,
first
yeah, yeah,
AEW
yeah.
Dynamite.
Yep.
Washington, DC.
But I feel like Vince was a little more
Yeah, Capital One Arena.
Capital One Arena. I feel like Vince was a little more family oriented when it came to those events. He wanted people to bring their kids out, and I don't think he tried to take them for everything they could possibly pay. I think he tried to charge what he thought was fair, and he wanted to fill the house up, and he did want parents to bring their kids. And he, you know, even when they changed the thing from the Attitude Era after they got out there and then it kind of went back to a PG product, that was to attract kids, because they know whenever you have kids that demand, they want to come out and they love WWE and they want to see their favorite superstars, and that means the parents have to come with them too, you know. So he obviously had a strategy there. I think these guys are, TKO is much more focused on maximizing the profit and optimizing it to the highest level.
Well, where it's different too, Matt, is that UFC fights are going to be consistently the same every event. There's no creative process involved with UFC. Let's turn the clocks back to 2019.
Except like the very dramatic entrances when they do different
Right. No, but I'm
entrances.
saying there's no storylines or anything like
Sure.
that, you know, right? Let's turn the clocks back to 2019, which I think a lot of people look back at as a really down creative time for WWE. They were barely doing 5,000 people for Monday Night Raw, which historically very down. They're shutting off 3/4 of arenas and they're tarping that stuff off. Then WWE has this creative hotspot.
Right.
2022, 2023. Fans start getting into what they're seeing, stuff's going viral. and all of a sudden you're packing houses, and when you realize that you're able to pack the houses, you're going to upcharge. You're going to charge more money, and people are still going to pay it because there's some buzz. There's legitimate buzz about the Bloodline, about The Rock, about Cody. All of a sudden, fans are there. But in wrestling, creative can go bad again, or you can have dry spells.
Sure. Of course.
So what happens if you raise your price point so high simultaneously with a creative low point or a dip in creative consistency? You run a pretty big risk there of alienating fans. And that's not just WWE. That's any company can do that.
Sure. Well, they damn sure better make sure the creative is as good as possible, that they have a bunch of compelling, enthralling storylines and characters that people are going to pay top dollar to see. Because if they don't, it would certainly be problematic, no doubt.
Because, I mean, right now you hear the complaints about every company has their complaints, but even WWE's sake right now, Kevin Nash even just talked about it the other day. Every main event is ending with a DQ or interference. Every single one. Which is just wild when you think about how hot the ticket sales are. It's almost like the fans are preconditioned to understand, well, this is the product that I'm getting, and this is what I'm going to expect. I find that to be very fascinating.
I do feel like following the TKO sell, and now that they have merged and they run the show now, I feel like WWE has kind of entered into some mainstream territory as well. Especially being on Netflix like that live.
The ESPN deal.
Yeah, so many places around the globe, and I feel like that probably plays into it as well. People are like, wow, this is a big deal. It's really important. I gotta go.
2 pound-for-pound grades, 1 ring, 1 night. Canelo versus Crawford, the fight we have all been waiting for. And DraftKings Sportsbook is your all-access pass to all the action. From the opening bell to the final scorecard, DraftKings delivers fight night thrills with odds on knockouts, total rounds, method of victory, and so much more. And if you're looking at the money line, Canelo Alvarez minus 165, Terence Crawford plus 135. But if you're feeling bold, a draw plus 1,400. I don't know, you take it however you want to go, but I can tell you, you want to take it to DraftKings Sportsbook. If you're new to DraftKings, we'll bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. And don't forget, football's here, so the action doesn't stop after the fight. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code HARDY, H-A-R-D-Y, that's code HARDY, to get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, Kansas, 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Fees may apply in Illinois, void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio. And, talk about like ESPN and WrestlePalooza, like they're throwing out all the attractions to try to make that premium ticket worth it.
Sure.
Brock Lesnar's having his first match back in years. AJ Lee, which we haven't even talked about, but I want to ask you about it now. She's coming back, and there's a huge groundswell for that. What do you think about AJ making her return here at WrestlePalooza?
No, it gets so much hype and so much love, and it's great to see, right? And I loved how she came out and they gave her promo time, and it seemed like it was very well received. And it's crazy how she was a big star back in the day, and when she came back out 10 years later, right? Even a more massive star. And just the whole thing with her being out there and like Punk being very happy and in the moment that his wife is returning and she's doing her thing, it was a very cool moment, and fans took to it very, very strongly.
It's going to be a big hit. That's going to work out well. I have no doubt that she will add major equity to that show. The show's going to come across huge. It's on ESPN. It's going to be in front of a big major audience. And that's an interesting place to showcase her, because they are trying to make quite a statement with this. But at the same time, it's like you're going up there in the section 400, whatever it is.
Right.
And you're paying $250 just to get into the building. And to me, that's so antithetical to what pro wrestling has been for so long. And think about it, when you're a kid, Matt, how much would it cost you to go to the Greensboro Coliseum to see WCW if you wanted to?
Dorton Arena. I mean, we would
Wherever.
go. We would either go to the three places we would go, John, are the Greensboro Coliseum. We'd go to Dorton Arena, or we would go to the Cumberland County Civic Center, which is Fayetteville. And I mean, gosh, back then, I want to say tickets were probably, we would get general admission, right? $20, 20 some bucks. You know, it wasn't a ton. I mean, that's like late 80s, early 90s.
Okay, so let's say I'm putting it in an inflation adjustment calculator right now. So let's say $20 in January of 1990, for the sake of it.
Okay.
That has the same buying power of about $50 these days. Now, $50 to go to a event like that, I think that's pretty reasonable. I think that's a pretty reasonable ticket. I think it's very reasonable, in fact. That's more in line with what you see from AEW or from TNA for a major show.
Sure.
It's family-friendly entertainment that you can take multiple kids out to and have a good time out. Hell, that Limitless Wrestling show where you guys were a premium attraction, that's what some of those tickets cost. And I think that's more than fair. I understand we're in a different world, but I don't know, man. To me, for a touring act that's on the road 52 weeks a year, asking fans to pay $250, which while they might be willing to do it right now, I do have concerns about the long-term sustainability of that.
Sure.
And how do you adjust from that afterwards?
I mean, you would just have, if your product cools off, I mean, then obviously the ticket prices would have to cool off too, if you still want to fill up that venue.
And then on top of that too, Matt, it also boils down to what percentage of that maximized profit is going to the performers and is going to the entertainers. UFC famously pays a very low rate to its fighters in comparison to the amount of money that it actually brings in. Then they have this $6.6 billion deal with Paramount that they just struck. Is that going to change what fighters take away for their purse? Are they going to get contracts that guarantee them higher payouts? How is that reflected in WWE's purposes? Are they relied entirely on media rights deals? Are they relied entirely on what you get merchandise-wise? How is that then distributed with these advanced price costs and affecting the performers? Is that something you guys ever thought about as performers?
I mean, I think everybody thinks about that, especially after you've been around for a while, about what kind of percentage you're getting. And I've heard the downside guarantees of contracts have went up higher than they have ever been on a low side. And there are people that are making really good money. How does that work out in the big scheme of things, like their percentage of what they're getting in, with the big picture, with all the money that WWE is taking in? I'm not sure. I've only dipped my toes into the waters of WWE at NXT a little bit, so I am not sure how all that works now. But yeah, obviously guys are going to be questioning that, and I'm sure there's guys like Roman and Cody that are making the maximum amounts of money that people can make there, and that would be a question for those guys, I guess.
But again, so let's put this in perspective. Yes, the downside guarantees have gone up for a lot of them. Now the downside guarantees around $250,000 minimum for a lot of them.
350 I've heard.
Sorry, I misspoke. 350. My apologies. So 350. Now that's including flights paid for, but not hotels. And do they pay for the rental cars? I'm not. I think that might be a case by case basis.
That stuff has changed. Yeah, it is kind of a case by. So is hotels nowadays too. Some people have hotels paid for. Some people have rental cars. It's kind of a case by case basis.
But it's not blanket across the board. Like AEW was blanket across the board. Everybody had their travel accommodations paid for. Is that correct?
TNA is blanket across the board too.
TNA too. Okay. Now TNA is a little different because TNA does batch tapings.
Sure.
Whereas AEW is live weekly. But what was your downside guarantee in, say, 2001?
In 2001?
Yeah.
My downside guarantee, well, back then is when you had a downside guarantee and you could actually multiply it and make many, many times over. In 2001.
But that downside guarantee that you can multiply was
my
based
downside
on
guarantee. My downside guarantee was $100,000.
okay. So that was based on what you're saying, though. Like you can multiply it or whatever. Um, that's based on merchandise. That's based on sometimes you get a bonus at the gate. Sometimes you get a bonus based on performance. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of that comes back to how far you move up the card, whatever. Like for instance, in the year 2000, I'll share this. My downside guarantee was 75,000. We signed for 70 when we signed in 99 full time. Well, first we had developmental deals. We signed for 75,000, 75,000, 100,000, 125, 150 for 5 years. In 2000, when we really got hot, $75,000 were myself and Jeff's guarantee, and we both made about $1.3 million.
Okay. So I'm doing some math here on the fly, which is not always my strong suit, but I'm doing my best. So $100,000 was your downside guarantee in 2000.
Mm-hmm.
Or you said 75,000, correct?
In 2000.
In 2000. Okay. So let me change that. $75,000. So $75,000 in 2000 comes around to the same buying power as $143,000 in 2025. So about double, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now the minimum downside guarantee is around 350. So that's a nice increase. That's about from what the same buying power would be to about a $200,000 increase from that. So marginally, that's about the same as you making plus another 75. Let's say that's about the same as you having a downside guarantee of about $220,000 back then.
And I also want to mention during those days we worked a lot more dates.
And you worked a lot more dates.
Sure. And
that's all fair. That's all fair. Now, proportionately, $75,000 downside guarantee to WWE's revenue in the year 2000 was a lot different because WWE's total revenue in 2000 was $377 million. So that $75,000 is a much bigger chunk of that because the company revenue is not all that high in that standpoint. In 2024, WWE's revenue was $1.398 billion. So we're talking a massive percentage increase from 2000.
Is it when you say that revenue, are we talking about all of the money they've made, or is that profit?
We're talking about revenue. So we're not talking about net, but we're talking about revenue. Okay.
Okay.
So total revenue for TKO, including UFC, was $2.8 billion. All that money's coming from the same place ultimately.
Yeah.
So percentage wise, what you got in 2000 was of greater percentage to WWE's total revenue versus what the 350,000 is now to what WWE and TKO are making in 2024. Does that make sense? What I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I'm following you.
That's why I think there needs to be a conversation from the talent perspective. If these ticket prices are raising at a substantial rate, are they seeing a proper percentage? Sure, 350 is a nice paycheck at the end of the day, but you are subtracting some of those road costs. You're not getting health insurance with that. What percentage should these talent be due based on the revenue they're generating for ticket sales? That's a conversation I think would be very worth having for a lot of these talent. And Matt, I think it's a lot of a big reason why a lot of talent now are starting to hire representation and agents.
Sure. Well, I think they're trying to maximize those deals. You know what I mean? They're definitely trying to get everything they can, because I think they do know the value of the company and how much money is being generated, which is a bunch. And I think they're trying to maximize those deals as opposed to, doing it on their own. And they feel like they don't have as much leverage, and they don't necessarily want to be the bad guy. Right.
So I ask you the question, is TKO outpricing the fan, where they are not holding shows in specific cities if they're not matching the site fees, which is something WWE never really dealt with prior to the last few years.
Right.
Where now WrestleMania 43 is going to be in Saudi Arabia, reportedly. How do you feel about that, by the way?
It's wild. It's wild.
Is it
It's going to
be
what's that?
Is it surprising?
Not terribly. I mean, especially if they have made it their goal to maximize income, that's a place they can maximize income, no doubt. So it's going to be really interesting to see how many people that typically go to WrestleMania every single year, whatever else, how many of those people still attend WrestleMania. And I mean, that's the goal. That's what Saudi Arabia is hoping to get out of it, obviously.
Oh, I don't foresee a lot of people making the trip to Riyadh, Saudi Arabia for.
But John, what I'm saying is it's going to be interesting how many people do turn out. You know what I mean, and actually make that trip. I don't see WrestleCon being over there.
My gut tells me it's probably not going to be. GCW live from Jeddah. I don't know about that. I hope you're ready for NXT Jeddah featuring Javon Evans against Dark State.
And there you have it.
It's where we're going, man. It's kind of insane, but that's where we're going. I mean, look, we've done episodes you can check in the archive, extremehard.com, about sports washing and Saudi Arabia and all that's going on over there. I'm not surprised at all. I think we'll have NFL games in Saudi Arabia within the next decade. That's just where the nature of the beast is going.
It is what it is. It's just kind of the state of the business too. You know, they do UFC fights over there. Like you said, football games, WWE. I mean, they want things and they have the money to command them, you know, so they can make it happen. And once again, when you're looking to maximize your revenue and the money you're going to be making and make as much profit as possible, that it turns into an option that people are absolutely into.
So to put the bookend on this conversation, is there any concern in your end about what rising prices could do for the fan relationship with the company, especially as other promotions aren't really outpricing the fan, and AEW and TNA and some of those others are much more affordable options in that regard?
Right. I mean, honestly, as of right now, no. I mean, as long as, I mean, they're doing it and currently it is sustainable and their product is hot enough that they can do it. So as of right now, there isn't any worry. I feel like fans are so into what WWE are doing currently. They're willing to pay top dollar to attend these events.
Top dollar. You know what Top Dollar over in TNA?
I know a Top Dollar, yeah.
Took the craziest bump off a ladder I've ever seen.
He's so lucky he didn't break his legs.
Isn't he? Like,
he is. He's so lucky he didn't end up in knee surgery after that. That was insane. I mean, kudos to him. It was one of the more impressive things in the match, but it was amazing. I'm very glad he didn't get hurt.
Yeah, certainly so. Anything else you want to add on this, Matt?
No, interesting conversation though. It's going to be really interesting to follow the ascension and the nascence of WWE as they, you know, as I said before, I feel like there's a part of them that has become such a mainstream act in many, many ways. It's going to be interesting to see how high they can descend, and if this becomes a problem for them in the future down the road, a couple years from now, whatever, 2-3 years from now. How long can they, how long can they keep up this momentum? It's going to be an interesting follow.
I just crack up when I see on social media, if something happens that people don't like, they're like, oh, TKO's fault. Triple H definitely doesn't have say. I'm like, man, these are all the same people. Like, this is the collective goal. And you just have to accept it is what it is, or it's not. You're going to be
what it is.
It is what it is, right? Ugh, goodness gracious. Head on over to advertisewithhardy.com. Promote your business to the extreme. Get out in front of thousands of listeners and viewers every single week. That's advertisewithhardy.com. Check out our archives, extremehardy.com. And of course, the Hardy Boys in New York City, HardyBoysLive.com. Huge event. I'm going to be there. The Hardy Boys are going to be there. You never know who else could be there as well. Going to be a great time in the heart of New York City, Times Square, November 22nd. HardyBoysLive.com is where you get your tickets for that. Anything else you'd like to say to the Die Hardys?
No, man. Just thank you guys for rocking with myself and Jeff for over 3 decades now. We're in decade 4, and you guys are still here hanging with us tighter than ever, harder than ever, and we greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much, guys.
The words have been spoken. We'll see you next time on The Extreme Life. I'm Matt Hardy.
Delete!
SaveWithConrad.com. My name's Daryl. Came from Massachusetts and I moved to Wisconsin. And there's a lot of people that might be asking, why go with Conrad? Why go with Supreme Lending? And let me tell you something, brother. I think about the credentials, the tag team partner that I'd be working with. First of all, we got the podfather himself, Conrad. How can you go wrong with that? And then also go on to SaveWithEric.com, which, you know, who else could have kicked Vince's ass for 83 consecutive weeks? You can't beat that duo right there. But they did bring a secret weapon, and I didn't realize this because this was not advertised. I worked closely with Larry the Axe Thompson. And let me tell you, with all the stress with moving across the country with a large family that I have, it was reassuring to know that I had the enforcer at my back, handling questions from the other side of sellers, the other side with trying to find the right prices. He took care of all that. All I had to do was keep my eye on the prize and make it there to Wisconsin. They were absolutely fantastic. They checked in on me, especially Francis, very patient with me. I don't go through this process all the time, so I trusted the experts. I was able to call them. They called me if they had questions, and it felt like it was a personal arrangement. There was even a point in which, from the seller side, they wanted something else that wasn't part of the norm. Francis straight up told me, hey, we're loyal to you. We'll do whatever you want to do, and we'll make sure that you guys are taken care of. They came through. I made it to the dream. I'm the champion of my own destiny here. They were able to help pave the way for me and my family. I couldn't be more happy with the results. I went from having less than an acre to now 20 acres worth of land. They made that dream a reality. I'm Daryl, and I'm living in Friendship, Wisconsin, in my dream home, thanks to SaveWithConrad.com.
NMLS number 2129, Equal Housing Lender. SaveWithConrad.com.